Welcome to the Bruce Holmes Mysteries. Tonight's episode, The Mansfield Murder.
What happened on the eve of March 15th, 1940, was a shocker to all, including myself. Although the only one in the room that hardly flinched an eyelash was my partner. Staring coldly up at us was the lifeless corpse of Mrs. Mansfield, lying in a pool of her own blood, with a crowd around her. My partner stood up from examining the body and said to me what all suspected.
She's been shot.
We had been invited to the party of Sir Archibald Mansfield III a few days back. He was an English businessman on a trip to America with his wife. When Bruce and I arrived, the party was already in full swing. We were greeted almost straight away by a well-dressed man that carried a superior air to him. He went up to my partner and shook his hand.
Hello, sir. I'm Richard Mansfield, the brother of the host.
My name is Bruce Holmes. How do you do?
Holmes. Where have I heard that name before?
Perhaps you're thinking of my more successful cousin in London, Sherlock Holmes.
Ah, that's it. You're a detective too, am I right?
Yes, sir. I solve cases with my assistant here, Dick Grayson. We enjoy a good reputation for what we do.
I shook the man's hand for only a few seconds before he turned aside and went back to the party.
I'd steer clear of that one if I was you, Dick.
How come, Holmes? He seemed a friendly sort.
The scars on his face tell the tale of many a physical confrontation in the course of his life. The tension in his grip told me he was preparing for a fight instinctively, and in his pocket I caught the shape of a rather large whiskey flask.
Amazing, Holmes. How do you do it?
Elementary, my dear Grayson.
Throughout the night, we got the chance to meet many of the other party guests. In my mind, though, there were only a few worth mentioning. Mr. Archibald Mansfield, the host, his wife, and Mansfield's personal butler, Geoffrey. Not that I have a personal problem with his kind. I found that a black man in the kind of prestigious position was a little odd.
Hello, sirs. My name is Geoffrey, and I will be escorting you to see Mr. Mansfield.
We were walked up to a rich-looking man with a beautiful woman next to him. This was none other than Archibald Mansfield. He ended a conversation he was having with his brother, Richard, and came over to greet us.
Ah, hello, the famous detective and his partner. I'm glad to make your acquaintance.
Likewise, Mr. Mansfield. I assume that this is your wife?
Yes, sir, I am.
You seem distracted, Mrs. Mansfield. Is everything all right?
Yes, Mr. Holmes, everything is fine. How are you enjoying the party so far?
It is wonderful. You and your husband sure know how to entertain.
Thank you very much, detective, but we really must be on our way.
I'll see you later then, sir. Come on, Dick. Let's get back to the party.
At this point, we took our leave. Only a few minutes after, we heard a very loud noise. It rang through the room very loudly and drew the attention of all. It was a gunshot.
The Bruce Holmes Mysteries will be back after these messages.
In need of transportation? Tired of the time spent on travel in those old-fashioned horse and buggy rigs? Well then, the new Ford Coupe and its deluxe model are for you. This new model sports a high flat-topped hood and has the grille spread out reaching the fenders to be able to distinguish it from the deluxe. Sporting a V8 engine, a tried and reliable force for getting you to your destination. The deluxe model also comes with a retractable top to feel the wind blowing through your hair. And the best part is they're affordable. So go out and buy a Ford Coupe or deluxe version today.
Now back to the Mansfield murder. She's been shot.
Well, of course, Sherlock.
Sir, the name is Bruce, and I'd appreciate you not mocking me.
By this point, Richard was very drunk and beginning to get easily restless.
Where's the black man, anyways? He's the only one of us here capable of murdering this lady in cold blood.
Sir, you must not jump to conclusions.
Find the man!
The crowd began listening to him and started casting blame on the missing Geoffrey. Amid the commotion, Bruce sought out Mr. Mansfield for questioning.
Hello, Mr. Mansfield.
Oh, hello, Mr. Holmes. Are you here to question me?
Yes, I am, sir. Are you well enough to do this? You must be very much in grieving right now.
Actually, Mr. Holmes, I'm too in shock to grieve at this moment. I'll try my best to tell you what you want to know.
Good. As you've likely heard, opinion is swayed against your personal butler. What do you think of this?
Well, if he did it, I'm not shocked. Ever since I hired him, he's always acted strangely around my wife, and I found this suspicious.
How did he come to be in your household?
Why, I chose him personally out of many candidates. Will that be all, detective? I'm a busy man and must get back to trying to control this crowd.
Of course. Dick, he was lying to me.
Holmes, how do you know?
Learn to look closer, Dick. As he told his tale, his pupils were widening and slightly shifting. His fits were also bald. This may seem obvious when mentioned, but the signs were actually tough to catch. Now let us go and find his brother.
Next we went to question Richard, but at this point he was nearly too drunk to stand.
Detectives, have you found the culprit yet?
No, sir, but may we ask you some questions?
I know who did it. It was the black man. You're insulting my intelligence by not believing me. Put him up!
Richard came up to Holmes and took a quick swing at him. Holmes was able to avoid the drunken swing and quickly put Richard to the ground, using his martial arts knowledge. Witnesses in the crowd dragged Richard aside and Holmes walked on.
Come, Dick, we must find Jeffrey.
Holmes and I went through the mansion, searching for the missing man in hiding. Passing through the library, we heard a shuffling in the darkness. Holmes took a candle off the wall and lit it with a match, walking into the library.
Jeffrey, come out. We're friends. I have no friends, Detective, but to clear my name, I'll tell you all you want to know. All I want to know is how you were inducted into this household.
What does that have to do with anything, Holmes?
Don't question my methods, Dick. Well, Mr. Mansfield picked me out personally at the recommendation of his wife. I hope that she pestered him so much that he felt obligated to take me in. And how long have you worked with him? A couple of years, sir. Please, I would never harm Mrs. Mansfield. I don't know who did, but you have to believe me. I do, Jeffrey. I'll be on my way now.
He's lying, Holmes. I saw the signs, as you told me to.
Actually, Dick, he's telling the truth, although he is hiding something. Aha! I think this case has just been cracked. I need a few more pieces and I will have it. But first, I need to make a phone call.
While Holmes was making his phone call, he tasked me with asking some of the other guests some more questions. Found out that Mr. and Mrs. Mansfield were allegedly having relationship problems as of late. Holmes burst into the room upon this discovery.
Gather round, all. I solved the case.
Detectives, we already know who the culprit is, and when we find him, he'll face the noose.
Actually, Mr. Mansfield, it's you that'll be facing the noose.
Ridiculous.
Not very. When Jeffrey conducted us to you earlier, I saw him exchange a glance with your wife. Harmless enough. But she seemed very flattered by some events soon after. You told me that you picked him personally, but you neglected to mention that it was at the express recommendation of your wife Jeffrey be hired. I deduced that they were having an affair, and that when you found out, you couldn't stand the thought of her with a black man, and so you killed her. You knew that they would almost immediately pass judgment on him for doing so.
Interesting theory, but where's the proof?
Take off your jacket, Mr. Archibald, and I bet we'll see gunpowder under it. Assuming I'm wrong, though, I'll have you and your brother arrested for doing business with the slave trade. I made a phone call just now to the police, and they told me that you were both suspected of this, but there was no proof. From what I've heard, I believe that you hired Jeffrey out of the slave trade, and I'm sure he'll confirm it.
It seems you have us, Detective. I would have gotten away with all this if it wasn't for you and your partner here.
Standing on the balcony was Jeffrey, as he dropped the smoking gun, and Archibald Mansfield dropped dead. So Holmes, today is the date of Jeffrey's hanging.
Don't forget that in addition to that, Richard will rot in prison for a long time. Jeffrey's death saddens me, but this case serves as a wake-up call that racial equality is the way to go, although nobody's above the law.
All this never would have happened if we could treat all equally.
Don't be hung up on this, Dick. We have many more cases to solve and so little time. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Bruce Holmes Mysteries, The Masked Murderer. Until next time.